Asian shares mostly lower and the euro dips. A French bond auction adds spice later in the day. First, exclusive news from Reuters. European governments agree to ban imports of Iranian oil in a big blow to the economy months before scheduled elections. Switzerland's central bank chief set to break his silence today over a controversial currency trade by his wife. And former Olympus boss Michael Woodford back in Japan to decide on his plan to return to the disgraced company. Right, the Eurozone debt crisis still in focus, of course. The French government selling 7 to 8 billion euros in longer dated paper today. Let's get out of Graham Nielsen, Chief Investment Strategist at Cairn Capital. Graham, how priced in is a downgrade in France, would you say, at this stage?
Interesting question. I think that there is a reasonably high degree of this priced in. I think the market has been talking about this since maybe middle to late last year. So we've had at least 4 to 5 months to digest that possibility. Certainly through all of the EU summits and EU special packages, there has been a lot of speculation about this potentially happening, and actually the French authorities themselves appear to be more resigned to this eventuality as well.
So if we get a bad auction today, and I'm not saying we will, but if we get a bad auction, if we get a downgrade in the future, markets will react pretty calmly.
Well, I think if we get a bad auction today, it is indicative of a lack of appetite for what is likely to be a fairly large degree of supply coming due in the first half of this year, and it would not be good irrespective of a downgrade. If we got a downgrade in isolation after the auction went well, I'm not entirely sure that the reaction would be as big as one would have expected maybe 4 or 5 months ago.
I want to get a word on oil. How are you playing oil right now? We're steady around 113. Given the Iranian supply news, does that change things for you?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I think that there's two very, very big issues at play in oil at the moment. One is clearly geopolitical, and that is manifesting itself in the latest news in terms of Iran. But the other one is, what does the longer-term demand picture look like, or the demand-supply balance? From my perspective, a higher oil price over time is detrimental to the global growth outlook, and therefore almost has an upper boundary. I think one of the catalysts that I've been looking for over the next maybe 3 to 6 months or so is a much lower oil price. And again, this is a factor of a lower demand function in the Western world. And I think actually a lower oil price would be one of the catalysts that I would begin to be slightly more positive on risk assets for.
All right, Graham, many thanks for that. Yahoo names PayPal President Scott Thompson as its new CEO, hoping he can replicate his success at eBay. And newspaper wars are hotting up. New York Daily News hires Rupert Murdoch's former Lieutenant Colin Myler as editor-in-chief. The Daily News' rivalry with Murdoch's New York Post can, of course, only get fiercer now. Reuters Counterparties has a couple of stories on the art, or lack of it, of forecasting. The first from Big Think on how those who made predictions in Iowa actually fared. The second, a scathing blog from Barry Ritholtz on banking analyst predictions. Despite a big miss in 2011, today's howler is that analysts are going for a 57% jump in profit at the big 6 US lenders this year. Twitter trends on Reuters.com right now. Most interest in a Wall Street Journal story that Kodak is preparing a Chapter 11 filing in the event it's unable to sell its digital patents to raise capital. Before we go, quick check on where European stock markets have opened this morning. We are up across the board, as you can see there. That is it for now. I'll leave you with our pick of the day. Reuters photographer Andrew Winning captures the actress Meryl Streep arriving at the British Film Institute in central London for the premiere of her new Margaret Thatcher biopic, The Iron Lady. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.